Welcome to Real Divas, the podcast where we celebrate fierce women breaking boundaries, shattering stereotypes, and owning their power.
Join us each week as we dive into inspiring stories, candid conversations, and empowering insights from extraordinary guests.
So grab your favourite drinks, settle in, and let's get real with the divas who are changing the game. I'm your host, Riri.
I'm your host, Mimi. So in today's podcast, we are going to discuss a very exciting topic, a very sensitive topic, and a very lengthy topic. So it's very, very, I don't know how to put it in words. It's quite harsh and it's not harsh at the same time. So it's toxic families. How does that sound to you,
Exciting.
Riri? Exactly. It's just everyone suffers from it. It's literally everywhere, isn't it? So what's your take on that, Riri?
First things first, I just want to say you can't profile toxicness. You can't categorize it.
Yeah.
We can't point fingers at there's a certain type of person it's a universal thing.
Yes.
It happens in all cultures, from all kinds of backgrounds. And I'd say in this day and age, there's toxicness in every family.
100%. That's right.
And that is one thing you cannot deny. There has to be like this one certain family member. They don't have to be a specific type.
Yeah.
Or, or anything like that. I think most families that, you hear about some people are good at hiding it, actually.
Yeah.
But some people are not so good at hiding it. That's a realistic thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a universal thing, I'd say.
Right. So when you say universal, that covers mass majority of
absolutely all cultural backgrounds, all over the world, really.
Yeah. What would you say? What are the reasons, or what would you say are the symptoms, or how would you spot toxic, in the family? What would you say?
Look, first, what we've got to understand is that toxicness.
Yep.
I feel like nobody's born with it.
Yep.
I think situations get created.
100%.
It could have something to do with, again, like, problems in the family growing up.
Yeah.
A certain family may be using intoxicants who could be toxic for the family.
Of course.
It could be someone who has rubbed off another family member.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that they've experienced certain situations in the family that, brought out that toxicness.
Yeah.
It could be anger. It could be hate that they're harboring within them.
Yeah.
And then, boom, suddenly they become this person who loves to argue or manipulate situations.
Definitely.
It's such a widespread, complex kind of issue to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm just excited.
Okay.
It's like I said, you can't really say, the person's this type. I mean, from some of the people that I've spoken to about this, who are, friends and family, I'm talking about at uni, where I used to work previously. I used to work as a support worker, and some of the things you hear, are just absolutely through the roof.
Would you like to go through what things that you've heard, or?
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
From the top of my head, Sweet Bobby from Netflix.
Oh gosh,
Netflix again. It has to be Netflix again.
That was very, very shocking when I watched that.
Yeah.
I got it recommended to watch, and blimey, I was like, what on earth happened there? What have I just watched? Because she's going on for such a length of time without any realization of who's behind it.
Was it 60 profiles that lady made, that girl made?
Yes.
Denise. 60 individual Facebook profile, accounts that she made in order to trap this one person.
Yes.
60. You're not talking 6, 12 or... This is 60 profiles to make this one person believe that everything that she's experiencing, all that online chatting, that it's real. And
it's crazy.
She got so sucked into that manipulation.
Yep.
She didn't even realize what was going on.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Like, the technology nowadays is so advanced.
Yeah.
You have literally arm's length to literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. The AI, what haven't they created
Oh,
for
my
people?
days.
And you could be sat on the other side of the world and you could be messing with someone.
Yeah.
Like you're sat literally right next to them or you
Yeah.
blocks away.
Mhm.
It's absolutely crazy. But again, that's regarding toxic family, because that was a family issue, wasn't it?
That's right. And that's what makes you realize that most people who are the toxic people in the family, whether it's a small reason or a big reason,
Yeah.
there's always a motive.
100%.
Always. And it could be something super, silly, petty, but it just blows out of proportion to an extreme. Like this, we didn't even realize what the reason was for that niece of, that girl to create such a big issue, that the catfish that she did, how she manipulated that woman. What was the reason behind it? I don't think at the end they did say her grandma or something said something about the families not being happy with each other or some sort of problem. She indicated at the end.
Yeah, but I suppose that comes again as toxic families. But surprisingly, now obviously we're talking about this topic. Just a couple of days ago, I was speaking to someone and she actually really opened up to me and she was talking about her in-laws, how toxic they have been. Well, it's not her in-laws actually, it's her mum's in-laws. So her, obviously grandparents, dad's mum, dad, how toxic they were. Unbelievable. You can be looking so happy, so we're all one family, everything's fine, we're doing so well, we are going with the flow, really.
Yeah.
And when you actually speak to the people that are in the family, or it can be anyone, and it really gives you insight that wow, they are really suffering underneath. They are silent sufferers. And it's really scary, because when she opened up to me, she was like, they were controlling my mum, they were controlling her money. She wasn't allowed to be in contact with her own personal family. That's like her mum and dad and siblings.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to go out. We were, housebound. We were always on, literally limited on everything. Yeah. He was to such an extent where they weren't allowed to even put the gas and electric on. It was absolutely crazy. When you hear it, it sounds crazy.
Manipulation at its peak.
100%. It's shocking. People, and that was a young girl that came out to me.
Wow.
And I was like, it's really shocking, because she's still growing, and that trauma again is growing with her. And she's got younger siblings.
How's she going to deal with that?
Honestly, it's shocking, because how the younger one's going to grow up with it, how are they going to pass it on? Are they going to get help? Are they going to get released? I recommended obviously what we know, because obviously again, we're no experts. We can just give advice on certain things, but counselling, everyone really needs to go for counselling who's suffering from certain things like this. And honestly, I really felt for her, because it really gives me an idea that people who are not coming out are actually really suffering. And you suffer more when you don't talk.
That's right.
It really, really
But
takes a toll on
there's
you.
a lot of pressure from the family that, don't share secrets.
Oh, yes.
Don't speak about certain things that are happening in the family, because so-and-so will become aware, and, the effects that it's going to have on the family as a whole.
Yeah, 100%, because
I think that's the
kind
pressure.
they push you down, that if you talk, you're done. That kind of
trouble,
thing.
Yeah.
And then that kind of stops you from coming out. And that is so bad, because it takes their mental health. Why don't we care about mental health? Why is no one talking about it? It's not fair. Mental health can get you in places that you don't want to be.
That's right, yeah.
And it can lead you onto substances that you're not supposed to use just to help you cope.
Yeah.
So that kind of becomes like a mechanism that people use.
Yeah.
Whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, you look for other things. And it's really, really depressing, and it really just puts you down, and you're not really, you're not, obviously as kids, you're not supposed to use things, but it really takes a toll on you, and you've got no help.
Yeah.
And it's so unfair.
It is.
So it's crazy that, you're not getting the help. And when you get the help, they say, why are you getting that help? Why are you bringing shame to the family? Why do you need to do this? No, we need to. We need to get somewhere. We need that help.
Yeah.
So what would you say about counselling? Obviously, I'm talking about, because we're obviously Asian background. So obviously we are quite outstanding and a bit different from, other backgrounds.
100%.
So we find it kind of like, let's say our elders, when you go for counselling, they're like, no, you don't need it, you'll find. So what's your take on that?
See, the first thing about that is you're labelled instantly.
Okay.
That, growing up, hearing about schools, when you're in education and the schools offer you can come and talk to us, and you're like, I'm not doing that.
Big no.
No, exactly, because growing up, my parents did tell me, there's certain things that should stay in the family.
Yeah.
Especially, things that
when you get that random whack. Honestly.
And the threats. Oh yeah. Ugh. I think body language is a biggie. Okay. Body language, because I mean, in a lot of people that I know coming from the background that they're from, Pakistani.
Yeah.
Our parents use their bodies to kind of communicate with us.
100%.
Their eyes, their hands and their eyes are particularly significant, because you could be sitting within a crowd of people, and then suddenly your mom could look at you and give you those eyes.
Yeah.
And with those eyes, she's giving you specific instructions, either to get out or shut up, be quiet instantly,
zip it up,
or fix yourself. You're not sitting properly, fix yourself,
Gosh, we've been through that as well, honestly.
100%. So we've got this thing in families, but, the counselling part of it is a big subject that's a stereotype in our background, because
100%.
you're labelled instantly, like I said. So I think a lot of people will become instantly reluctant to take that help, because they feel like if so-and-so found out that I was going for counselling, I'd be, it brings shame on the family, it would be embarrassing. So there's no shame in it whatsoever.
Okay.
Mental health should be our first priority.
100%.
If we're okay, everything around us suddenly, sooner or later, will become okay.
Okay, yep.
But if you're not getting the help, you're not fixing what's broken, or something that's almost broken, then how are you supposed to live a comfortable, calm life with serenity?
That's right. You can't even go ahead in life, like get a good job. You can't, like people work abroad because they're happy with themselves. They're happy in what they are doing. So moving away, getting a really good job with the good pay really, really helps when you are mentally fit. Absolutely. And when you've got that support around you. When you don't have any of that, you're just sat in your room, you're crying your eyes out, you're depressed, you're not moving on. And that is really something that people need to talk about. We are not perfect, obviously. We are still learning as days go. As days come, we are still learning every day, basically. And it's like we need to get out, help, or come forward and get the help that we need. So
it is becoming, more and more people are becoming aware. I think a lot of Asian background women and men, we've seen a lot of cases, a lot of domestic abuse going on in the family. And that brings cases where we've come across, especially from the Asian background, and there's a lot of toxicity within the family. But they've had to keep their mouths shut about it.
That's
they
right.
weren't able to. And then,
do you think that's the fear that stopped them?
100%. Family fear, the elders in the family who are, teaching their children as they grow older, because it happened to me too. So really? I can only imagine, when they would talk about their situations, you instantly think, yes, I know what you're talking about. That pressure to keep things within the family. Do not, even cousins, you're not even allowed to let your cousins know what's going on.
Exactly.
And then what slowly happens is you become this, you're depositing all this information, and there's no way to release that. So what happens is, one day, whether it's when you become an adult or whether it's in your teenage years, you're going to burst one day. Do you know? And the side effects of that is unimaginable.
Quite scary, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, like, now we're obviously on this very sensitive topic. Like, when you've got a family, you've got everything going on okay, you're happy, you're doing well. When a sibling brings another person, new person in the family.
You mean married into the family?
Married, yes. I didn't want to say it, but you brought me to say it. So when a sibling brings another person in the family via marriage, and they start living with you, and then all of a sudden you see that manipulation, that toxicity in them, all of that kicking out, coming slowly. How would you deal with it? What would you do? Your personal thing, what would you say?
I think that stems from being from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Not what I mean when I say backgrounds is how you were born and raised.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say for an example, and this happens a lot in our communities, where you've got a son who's married a lady who's from abroad.
Yeah.
And this lady has left her home country.
Yeah.
And has to adapt to another country. Okay, and then either she could be the toxic one who doesn't want to adapt and wants to keep her life the way it is.
Yep.
It's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you've got the mother-in-law who could be, or you might have a sister-in-law who's manipulating the whole situation and getting them. This is so deep.
Yeah.
That it could almost be, and at the same time, it could be the husband who's not supporting the wife.
Yeah.
And it could, most of the time, it is either one or more family members who are manipulating the one situation.
Yeah.
And it blows out of proportion.
That's right.
It's so sad, but it's a reality.
Yeah, I agree with you, because it can be a very small problem. And with so many involved, more than necessary, you will blow it out of proportion and you will make it look bigger than what the actual problem is.
That's right.
And then everyone's sad, everyone's going through such different emotions, everyone's at each other's throats. And you just want to, basically get rid of everyone, and the person that's actually the cause, they kind of step back, and the people that got involved for no reason, they're just like at each other's throats. And it's just crazy, because as Asians, I'm, not to offend anyone or not to, specifically point at anyone, it's more I've seen, because obviously me being an Asian myself, I've seen it in our Asian community where in families, we bring someone from outside or maybe different country, it can be anyone, and they come in the family, everything's, happy days, and then all of a sudden, she's not good anymore or he's not good anymore because of one certain thing. And that's really sad, because that person's probably, like you said, not used to. It's about getting, involved with everyone. It's about adapting to their life, how they are, because they're new people to you.
Yeah.
And you've obviously come back from your own home. You've moved to a different family. Your lifestyle is completely different from their lifestyle. And you're having to adapt to theirs. And obviously it takes
hard.
time, 100%. Yeah. And then they're not giving you that time, or you on yourself are toxic and you're giving them the toxicity and all that. So it gets very hard for everyone to deal with it, because there's probably kids involved as well in that family. And when those kids see all adults fighting, gosh, it's going to be manic for everyone.
But the flip side to this situation, how we're talking about somebody coming from the outside into a family.
Yeah.
The flip side is, within the family, toxicity could arise from siblings.
Yeah.
Within siblings, it could be the parents, the way they interact with each other.
Yeah.
The kids are picking up on it. They'll grow up with that. They'll think that's normal. If the parents are not communicating in a healthy way with each other, the children would think, okay, this is how communication is. They will pick up on that. That's how they will communicate with the world.
Yeah, 100%.
And when they get into relationships themselves, they carry that with them.
So it's like a look and learn, isn't it?
Exactly. So when children, it could be two sisters, one is better than the other. Slowly over the years, the one that's feeling low and the other one's getting more attention, or the other one's doing too well and I'm not doing so well.
Yeah.
That child could be the toxic one and could cause, and sometimes
that could be neglect as well, can't it?
Absolutely, because if one child is getting praised too much or getting praised all the time, and the other one is like, yeah, you'll get there, you'll be better, you'll be next year, when parents give that, what would you say?
Giving that support to one child more than the other one, isn't it?
Making them feel that they're wanted too.
Yeah.
But the realistic thing is, when that one child will present, let's say, a certificate, and the other sister hasn't, or the other brother hasn't, they will automatically feel like, oh, I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
They've got their own mental health to deal with. But then the one that's feeling all, I'm this and I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
they're stuck in their own bubble of,
So it's like
I
a
want to keep
barrier.
doing well.
Yeah.
You know, my sister or the brother who's not doing so well
Yeah.
is bringing me down. They're giving me negative vibes,
Yeah.
all that. That causes a drift between them.
100%.
But then the kid that's feeling low and not feeling so academically well or
Yeah.
socially well will think,
No one loves me.
It's not fair.
Mm.
I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. That they're harboring their own toxicity.
Yeah.
And then soon or later, it could be, they'd grow up and suddenly start to make the other sister or the other brother feel like they're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because they already feel like they're not good enough.
Yeah. So that kind of like
They're
exaggerates
reflecting
on it,
their
isn't it?
behavior on the other person.
Yeah.
Sometimes knowingly and without knowing. So, like I said, this topic that we're speaking about is
Very sensitive.
it's a lengthy
It is.
subject because there's so many relationships in one human
Yeah.
being's life, and toxicity can arise from
Any angle.
any one of them
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
Whether it's mom or dad, brother or sister, mother and daughter-in-law, husband or wife, it is so widespread as well.
Yeah. So, to avoid certain situations, right? So, to avoid certain situations like this, what would you say? Like setting boundaries within family, within anyone that's close to you that you would know who's toxic, and that will, pass it on to anyone that's with them. How would you say boundaries? What would you say about setting, certain levels?
I say, personally, I think there should be rules.
Yeah.
But I feel like my reply to that answer is going to be quite lengthy.
Okay.
You got to hear me out though.
Of course.
Okay. When it comes to children,
Yeah.
and we need to remember,
Yeah.
children these days,
Yeah.
21st century, technology is at its peak.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Children are more aware.
Mm.
Okay. And I feel like for those children to put things into perspective,
Yeah.
they need a real education about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe somebody in school, you know how, people come into schools.
Oh yeah,
as a
they invite
representative.
someone, isn't it?
That's right, to teach the children about X, Y, and Z, the police or the
Yeah.
ambulance service, or, somebody who could come into the schools and explain to the children, if something like this is going on, this and this and this is put in place for you
Yeah.
to offload.
Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to adults, it becomes tricky because you almost get used to living that sort of lifestyle.
Yeah. You adapt to it.
That's right. And it becomes a norm.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you've got this toxicity to deal with.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, you have this mental health issue. It could be depression, it could be stress, it could be anxiety, it could be a lot of different things that you're carrying also. Because again, it's a very complex thing. When we say toxic family member, the actual person who is the toxic family member also has to break down each thing mentally, socially. The toxic individual, the individual who's actually got the toxic traits,
Yeah.
needs to come to terms with their behavior,
Okay.
their how would you put this? How they're portraying themselves,
Yeah.
okay, to others,
Mm-hmm.
okay. They need to come to terms with the situation. Maybe they need to go into some sort of therapy.
Counselling again. That
Yeah.
really does help.
Everybody can do with a little bit of therapy, whether it's, there's lots of therapies available.
But some people refuse therapy. Some people say, no, it's not us. It's the environment or it's the other people that we're living with. They are so much, they're in denial, basically.
It's not me, it's you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It gets really scary because when you're in denial, gosh, it's really hard to turn you around.
That's right.
It gets scary.
But what I mean to say is this toxicness needs more awareness.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I said about going into schools, that was targeting children who might be going through a toxic relationship at home. It could be anybody in the family. Again, it could be even themselves.
Yeah.
But somebody talking about it, you suddenly realize you can point a finger in your mind thinking, oh, it's certain. It could be me. And then moving forward, maybe that child might have the confidence to come out and say, okay, but this and this is happening. you know. But at the same time, I'd say that coming to terms with something is the first step.
Yeah.
Accepting a situation, something's not right here, is the first move going forward.
That's right. Going back to children, like obviously you said about them coming to school and having a discussion and going through certain things with them. Children who are listening can probably visualize it, that this is what I'm going through at home, and he's mentioned it or she's mentioned it, whoever's come to speak, and they can come out after that, maybe after the session, and they will probably come out because they've got obviously before that there's a lack of understanding, and they're not able to understand that what they're actually going through at home, it's all toxic and it's not good for their mental health. And then when someone comes and talks to them, they're understanding it, they are visualizing it again, and now they're coming out to it because it's not good for them. And obviously when the person comes and explains to them, whoever's been invited, and I think that really needs to be done at every school, that could possibly save so many lives. So I think that's something that everyone really needs to get into. And
I think teachers should be taught of the warning signs that maybe a child is withdrawn, who's not doing academically well. Maybe they should look back at their schoolwork and kind of determine whether this child is actually not doing so well now. What's the teachers.
So when you come from high to low, isn't it?
That's right. When a child is doing so well at let's say in year 2 or 3, and suddenly in year 4 and 5 they're not doing so well, and
But that's a lack as well, because the first thing they would do, rather than approaching the parents, they get social services involved, and parents don't like that. Me as a parent, I have 3 children. I would be very distraught if they were to contact social services rather than me. But that's a procedure teachers follow. There are rules and regulations that they have to. I understand that. Obviously, I was a teacher as well. So I completely understand that we have a certain protocol that we have to follow. But as a parent, I'm talking me now as a parent, not a teacher or not, anything else. I would want to be contacted first, but they don't do that. And parents don't like social services on their back. And it's just that phone call that does you in. And then you've got second thoughts that maybe my children are going to be taken off me because of all the toxic that I've got in the house. They've come out now. There's so much to it. It's a very, very sensitive topic. It's very harsh as well.
I think what people need to remember is, especially parents, is that when social services are contacted, I'm a parent too. So what we've got to understand first, and remember this at all times, when social services are contacted, it does not mean that they will be taking your children away.
But certain parents don't understand that.
Well, this is it. Awareness, again. They need to be made aware. There's a certain situation.
It's just that name, social services. It does you in, you're done. And you just want to run away, and you don't want to go down that line. Why have they contacted them?
But it could be, and they have a job, they have a role to play as well.
Of course.
And their first point of action is safety.
Yes.
Is that child safe in that environment?
And it's all the safeguarding that they look at, isn't it?
Our subject is toxicity within families. This could be verbally. In most cases, it is physical.
Of course.
So social services are needed in that kind of case. If there is domestic violence within that family, they need to do their job in order to make sure that child is safe within that family. And in most cases they are. It probably is miscommunication in the family. There are cases where there is a huge amount of domestic violence involved, where in those cases, when you do hear about those cases and you think, oh my God, that was so necessary. But and then there's cases where people have this fear of social services getting involved, but we need to remember they're just there to do their job. If you as a parent have got something to be scared of, you need to be questioning yourself. Am I doing the right thing here?
But they do unnecessarily take your kids away, because I know a parent that I was speaking to at school, and she's only got one daughter, and before her daughter she was in the process with the social services, and she was coming out to me and she said she opened the door once and the social services were at her door and she didn't know, and she goes, I just randomly opened the door and my daughter's got a knife in her hand. I go, what kind of knife was it? She goes, it was a spreader. where you spread jam and, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they literally came, took no question whatsoever, came and took her daughter away from her. And that girl was crying and screaming. Honestly, when she was telling me that, it's like, there's something going on in me as well. Because as a parent to parent, you really feel all the, the emotions. And she was literally crying. And it's so sad that it does happen to some people. I'm not saying it doesn't. It does. But it's not all of them. But the fact that the experience that you go through, it's the trauma again. Your children going away from you, forcibly taken away from you. It's not nice. It's not a good experience.
Yeah.
And the children themselves, it can take an effect on them as well.
Absolutely.
And the children that are living in toxic families, they're not investigated as much. And when they see it, obviously you would act, but they need to investigate more. Like, where is this abuse? Who's it coming from? The main root cause of abuse.
Yeah.
It needs to be found. It needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. And those parents who are, not really doing anything, their children are being taken away from them, and then that really leaves a mark on them. And it's, no one's really, it's very hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you say?
One thing we've got to remember is when they do get involved,
Yeah.
and it has come to the stage, there are stages, okay?
Yeah.
So there's first point of contact,
Yeah.
there's finding the root cause of it, and it really does depend on that individual, the actual social worker,
Yeah.
who has that case, who's going to deal with it, how they deal with it. I mean, some workers may take it really personally, will get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And it may not come to the conclusion that this child needs to be removed from the family.
Yeah.
It depends on the caseworker and how well they do their job.
Yeah.
Some can immediately see some signs and say, right, this child needs to be taken away. But then you might have another social worker who wants to get down to the root cause of the problem and may not need to remove that child.
Right.
So I think parents should not be afraid if social services are contacted. I mean, personally, while I was I was a support worker, there was a lady who had two children, a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Lovely lady, but she had hygiene problems.
Oh no.
And I mean extreme hygiene problems. She wouldn't wash, she wouldn't clean anything herself as well, and her children. And this was going on for a good number of years.
Oh gosh, okay.
And social services were heavily involved.
Okay.
And they did take the right, they gave her a support plan. They did everything they could to help this lady to become a better person for herself and her children.
Yeah.
So
how many children does she have with her?
Two children.
Okay.
A boy and a girl.
Okay.
She was separated from her husband, which didn't make things easier. She had her own stuff going on, her own mental health issues going on, separation, all of that. And it does take a toll.
100%.
All these things that happen to you, everybody has their own coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And for her, maybe it was not to clean. But again, the social services did have a support plan put in place for her. But I feel like she didn't get the support that she needed. Okay. So when I heard about this case, during mid case, I had to move away. Okay. And when a few years later, when I came back, I found out that the children had been taken from her.
Oh no.
Which was really, really sad. And the lady, I mean, it was really shocking for me. I was really taken back by that, because knowing her, understanding her situation.
Did you spend that time with her?
Yeah, I did spend a few moments with her here and there, speaking about her situation and really just giving her that, consoling her, that things will be better, as you do. But again, I feel like she wasn't given...
Was she neglected, would you say?
Yeah, maybe she wasn't offered the support that she actually needed.
Right.
And I mean, the honest thing I can say is that when I discovered that her children had been taken from her, the lady vanished. I had no idea where she'd gone. Nobody knew where she'd gone, because I mean, I was worried about her genuinely.
Yeah.
This woman has had her children taken from her and she's suddenly vanished. again, safety concerns. Maybe there was policies and procedures
Yeah.
coming in the way of them saying, okay, she's moved, to a certain place or to a certain town. She had gone. So I was left thinking, was it lack of support? I'm guessing it was.
So you've had that question till today, haven't you?
Yeah.
The where she's
and I've
gone.
never known where that lady was,
Yeah.
but I know this. Her children were taken from her.
Oh no, that's so sad.
It's really sad. Really, really sad, because that lady, she was lovely. She is lovely, and her children were just taken. And the main issue was hygiene. Look, that's got nothing to do with, maybe there was toxicity involved within the family that caused her to
move away,
be this unhygienic person.
That was probably taking a toll on her again. It's controlling you. Abuse, living with toxic people really, really starts to think that you have no control over yourself, because you're so immune to everything, and you don't know, your brain stops working basically, and you're just like a robot doing basically anything and everything, and you're going with the flow. Yes. So it's so crazy. What would you say about breaking ties with family that bring toxic to you, spread it out? How would you come about that? Breaking ties with, your loved ones, basically.
Yeah, that's really deep, that, because I think that would be one of the last resorts.
Okay.
But again, in our communities, people tend not to realize or kind of wake up to understand that I may be the problem. Because coming to terms with something like that is so difficult.
It is. I
can only imagine the mental stress that will come with that, realizing that, oh my God, I am the root cause.
Yeah.
If somebody's not accepting, and there's somebody who's not toxic, who's suffered the toxicity from that person, and is telling them, okay, this is the effects of your behavior, and this is how I'm feeling, they could easily brush you off.
Yeah.
But when it's a family member and you're saying that to a family member, it's easy not to just shut them out and say, okay, I don't want to speak to you ever again.
Yeah.
It's very easy for them to say that.
I was going to say, telling someone to, when you shut them off, or when you, put them exactly, when you don't want to speak to them anymore, it kind of builds a barrier as well, and it kind of distances you from other family members, because maybe that's a popular member of the family, or maybe that's someone who's in control of certain things in that family. And then when that person brings toxic in the family, you're like, okay, I'm no longer going to speak to you anymore. But then the people that are around you that are associated with that specific member, they kind of draw back away from you as well, because they think that person's right and you're wrong. But the fact is that they are so immune to their toxic that he's giving or she's giving, they're not understanding. And it gets very hard on that individual that is trying to make things better. Now he's the bad one. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That's happening in, obviously, again, we're obviously from Asian we obviously being from Asian backgrounds, it really, they basically put you down, and they're like, you're not coming out with this, you need to shut up and stay put and not come out with it, basically. So that, again, creates a barrier. You're the bad one again. You're not going to go nowhere. You're staying where you are. So what would you say, like, being like that in such an environment, in that kind of family, would you say going out talking to someone, would that help you, or would it not? What would you say?
I think yes, it would. Obviously, when there's a situation going on, when you've got a problem and you realise that something's not right, but it could be anything, talking to somebody about it, offloading, getting somebody's advice. It could be a friend, could be your neighbour.
Yeah.
And neighbours do hear things.
Oh gosh, they hear a lot, more than what we think.
And you might have a neighbour that approaches you and says, "Oh, I heard a lot of noise yesterday," or whatever.
Yeah.
And then them knowing that you could speak to. Again, it's about trust as well. Okay, but speaking to somebody who you trust, is 100%. It can help you.
Yeah,
it can help some people. It might not help everybody.
Yeah,
but speaking to somebody who who you trust, can really, really help you.
I think I completely agree, because I know quite a few people that don't come out, and they have people that they can talk to, but they're scared. It's the fear that stops you.
Yeah.
So on this topic, obviously it's a very lengthy topic. It was a very sensitive topic. It is spoken of, but not as much.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that we've obviously spoken about this, and anybody who's hearing us, any age, you can be child, adult, old, anything, any age, please do talk to anyone that you find that you can trust, anyone that you can speak up to and will help you. Even if they direct you in the right way, please do it. Because if you're someone who's heard it and someone's come out to you, please contact the correct authorities, the correct people that can guide you. Isn't it, Riri? Coming out to the correct people.
Absolutely.
So what would you say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. If you're listening to us, if you've heard us, or please come forward anonymously. We will share your story. You don't even need to give us your name.
Oh, of course not.
We don't need any personal details from you. We're here to just make people aware that there is help out there.
And make them feel better.
And please don't suffer in silence.
Definitely not. I think the worst thing is suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Not coming out. I know it's hard, but it can be easy. Once you're on that level, you're on that step of coming out to someone, it can make life so easy. And it's like a burden lifting off you. And not many people understand that. It's matter of fact of trusting someone again.
Yeah, it will take that edge off. 100%.
Yeah, that's right.
So, after this topic, we would love to hear from your experiences. Maybe somebody who's going through it.
Yeah.
Please get in touch with us at werealdivas@gmail.com. We hope to hear from yourselves.
Yeah.
We will be sharing stories. We will also be covering many more topics.
Of course.
Mimi, you have more information on that.
We've got lots coming. We will see you again with a new topic with Mimi and Riri, the Real Divas. Thank you so